Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys are all having a great day so far. Good morning, Seth. Um, it's been a busy morning so far. Good morning, Justin, as we're talking about the nor'easter moving up the coast. So let's kind of get right to it as we have a lot to talk about. First things first, this is a live view here from Myrtle Beach. You can see that the water is getting close to the dunes. As we've talked for a few days now, that the coastal impacts from this nor'easter are going to be a lot higher than what we see inland. They're causing beach erosion, coastal flooding, similar to that to a low end tropical storm. And that's why there are coastal flood warnings and coastal flood advisories in effect for the rest of today and even into the early half of Monday, thanks to that flooding inundation there from some of that storm surge. Even though it's not technically a tropical storm, it's not named, they are in similar impacts. And we've even seen that in the state of Florida as a lot of that water has rushed inland as that low center was nearby off the coast of of course, state of Florida there in the Gulf. Now that center of circulation is kind of right over the northern half of Florida. And as it continues to move eastward, we, of course, are going to get more impacts. We've already seen rain, but the winds really haven't started yet and aren't going to start until the second half of the afternoon. And I don't want to necessarily downplay the threat here when it comes to the winds, but this is not a huge crazy severe weather threat by any stretch of the imagination. The biggest reason we want folks to stay weather aware is we haven't really seen a storm system like this in quite some time. So, for people who are new to the area or just haven't seen the risk of scattered power outages like this in quite some time, it's kind of a good reminder to be weather aware, get the batteries for the flashlights in case you're one of the unlucky ones, right, that see some of those scattered power outages. And just a good reminder of the time of year it is and that we do get nor'easter storms like this. I wouldn't say often, but they're not rare. So WCNC Doppler this morning was overspread with light rain. We're kind of seeing the same trend now, but now we're starting to see that light to more moderate rainfall moving into portions of Union and Anston County, and then the heavier rain into Lancaster and Chesterfield County. And that moderate to heavy rain is going to continuously spread into the area as we progress throughout the day. And that's why we essentially have an 80 to 100% chance of rain by any day part throughout the afternoon. So if you're heading to the Panthers game, it is going to be wet. It is going to be windy. The winds will gust especially high after 5 p.m., which is kind of when we're wanting folks to stay weather aware for the scattered power outage potential. But the gusts before the game, while people are tailgating, are still going to be about 25 to 30 miles an hour. So far this morning, I've seen around 20. So they are starting to increase and they will continue to do so as we progress throughout the day. You might remember I mentioned yesterday, the slight easterly shift, which was going to downgrade the chance for heavy rain for portions of the mountains. That has remained the same. In fact, you can actually see this as we take a look at Futurecast. Still pockets of heavy rain across the central portion of the Piedmont, but see how the mountains and foothills kind of start to filter a lot of that away. That's obviously why they have lower rainfall totals, but also why they're expecting to see some slightly drier conditions from this system. However, we're starting to see a relatively similar trend here in the Piedmont in the sense of, I said earlier, it wasn't going to stop raining until after midnight. I think now that could be 10 o'clock. I know that's not a significant change, but for many people that maybe, I don't know, it's your anniversary, your birthday, you really want to get out late for, I don't know, a bite to eat, maybe a drink, things like that, whatever you got going on. It is Sunday night after all. We will see maybe some clearing in Charlotte by about 10 o'clock this evening. But after that, we actually stay dry all of Monday for the most part. I think most of the rain stays dry for the majority of the day across Charlotte. In the mountains, though, we will see probably some patchy drizzle, some low hanging clouds, and then a really strong burst of strong northwesterly wind. It really cranks up not just the cold air, but it combines with the moisture and allows for a really strong burst of really cold air and snowfall potential. This will happen Monday afternoon and into Monday evening, and will allow for snowfall accumulation up in the mountains. So we're not seeing the rain at the same time that we're seeing the snow. We're seeing the rain today, but the snowfall is actually going to be a Monday and into Monday night event, and it's only in Ashwaubenon and Avery counties at the highest elevations. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So we're already starting to see some moderate to heavy rain in a few spots. Again, this is mainly going to be for the center part of the day, at least for Charlotte. High winds mainly after 5 o'clock in terms of the highest gust. You can see that shaded in the orange. And around that same time period, that's when I'm expecting those scattered power outages. It's not a high risk. Those will mostly be over on the East Coast, but a moderate risk for a few of those power outages is certainly a possibility. We didn't even see any severe thunderstorm warnings last Sunday with the storm system rolling through, and there were some winds that did cause about 15,000 people across Charlotte without power. So it can happen. It can happen this time of year. So just be mindful of that. Here's a look at 5 o'clock this afternoon. This is kind of why I'm pinpointing 5. You can see about 30 miles an hour in Charlotte, but notice areas east of 77 where we do see the highest rainfall totals, highest wind gusts locally, mid to upper 30s mile per hour. I even saw a few spots close to 40, which is why I kept that range in there. They are again going to be higher near the coast, so Fayetteville, Raleigh, over toward Myrtle Beach area. However, our winds are really cranking up later on today. That's the interesting part about a nor'easter, or even really a tropical storm, is that the rain always arrives first, but the wind always arrives second, even though the wind is a much bigger impact. So the reason why we want folks to stay weather aware today is the wind, not necessarily the rain. Now, even though our winds do go down a little bit on Monday, it still will be a breezy afternoon. But up in the mountains, winds are still going to be rocking. They're still going to be rolling, still gusting close to 35, 40 miles an hour. And of course, that contributes to that quick burst that we're going to see with that snowfall potential Monday and into Monday night. So just be mindful of that, folks. It's Sunday, of course, or Monday and into Monday night that we see that snowfall potential, but it's mainly this afternoon and tonight that we see that potential for scattered power outages. I accidentally skipped the snowfall totals and I don't want to skip over these. So in Ashwaubenon and Avery counties, mostly about 3,500 feet and above, that's right near the Tennessee border too. 3 to 5 inches of snowfall, certainly a possibility. Guidance has been relatively consistent about this. So that's what I'm going with at the higher elevations as of now. This will mostly be into the second half of Monday afternoon and evening. And then as quickly as it moves in, it moves out. With the snowfall so far this year, we also have seen a lot of melting relatively quickly because of a quick warm up. I don't think that'll necessarily be the case here because Tuesday and Wednesday will be pretty cold, but we will want to watch some of those lower elevation areas like the foothills to see if there will be that refreeze potential for some black ice, especially Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and Wednesday. So just be mindful of that as we progress throughout the rest of the day. And I do want to not leave you without this because I did mention it a few times during the newscast, and when I did have time, I did throw it in there. But we do want to watch those trends heading toward the Thanksgiving holiday, which is next weekend. So this time next week, it will be Christmas Eve. A temperature forecast so far has been relatively consistent about being higher than average, but the average is in the mid to upper 30s, mid to upper 50s. So remember, it's not necessarily going to be hot. But right now, highs are trending toward around 60, lows are trending to around 40, and we are trending toward a small chance of rain, but that still remains to be seen. I know that the power companies have been working really hard to kind of get ahead of this problem for the potential for scattered power outages. Sometimes it's out of their hands and there's really nothing that they can do other than just prepare. But I would just encourage folks to stay weather aware and just be aware of the chance of seeing those power outages today. Again, mainly after 5 o'clock. It'll be gusty, it'll be windy, and who doesn't want to know what the forecast is, right? So you're not caught off guard. I say this to the kids when I do school talks because I do a lot of them, is that do you want to know before or after if a storm were to impact your home? And they always say before. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you have to stay weather aware. And they're always like, yeah, of course it makes sense. I'm like, that's why you got to stay weather aware. And I kind of, it's a thing that you say to them. But then, of course, I say it to my friends and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, then why don't you pay attention? Anyway, so thanks for everybody for watching because I guess you guys are staying weather aware just by watching the stream. Um, so again, just to wrap things up, we're seeing light to moderate rain now, starting to see some heavy rain move into portions there of Lancaster and Chesterfield counties. That will be continuously spreading into the region later on. Flooding is not a huge issue, mainly east of 77. We'll see those higher totals. It'll range from about 2.5 inches of rain for places like Richmond County to about only a half of an inch of rain for the mountains, but heavy rain certainly at times, especially after lunch in the Charlotte area. Windy, the big story, that's after 5 p.m., scattered power outages, and then we're breezy into tomorrow with things quickly clearing out. And I do think it's a pretty big story that Tuesday afternoon will struggle to reach the mid 40s. That'll probably be one of our coldest afternoons in quite some time, if not of the season so far. And then Wednesday morning will probably tie the coldest morning of the season so far as well. So it'll be pretty chilly, definitely something we want to watch out for. Thanks so much for watching. We, of course, will be back throughout the days. We'll continue continue to watch these trends, watch any changes with the forecast, you can tune in to WCNC Charlotte, of course, coming up tonight at 6 and 11. We will have updates for you throughout the day on Queen City Loop, on WCNC Plus, and don't forget, of course, to download the WCNC Charlotte mobile app for the latest updates. I hope everybody has a happy, healthy, and safe Sunday, and we'll see you back here throughout the week. And if I don't see you before the end of the year, before the holidays, have a happy, safe, and healthy holiday too. Bye, everybody.